Hi everyone, welcome to Game of Power. This is episode 2. I'm your host, Maxwell Murray, and we're about to get into it. So, today we're going to have on Time Millionaire podcast. They're going to talk about how to make a podcast. We're going to have on Shane Lee, and we're just going to talk a little bit about, a few different things with him, and then we want to talk to Noble, who's going to come on and talk about real estate. And so Noble has his own property. He also is a real estate agent himself, and so I'm definitely excited to see, what he's going to do and all that. And then afterwards, whoever wants to come on, we could just come on and chat and have a good time. But yeah, just to kind of, to intro the idea of this, basically about the last year, I've always wanted to make a podcast myself, and Feelings in the Session is obviously the podcast that we created. And, the one thing that I'd like to say is like, you don't need to achieve or reach any. Yo, what's going on, bro? What's going on?
Yo, what's good, bro? How are you?
I'm good. How are you? It's good to tap in. I haven't talked to you in a little minute.
Not for real. And I was gonna say before anything, bro, this is a great idea. Like this is a really good idea. Like I fuck
Thank
with it
you,
a
man.
lot.
Thank you. Yeah, I was getting tired of. So what was happening was we were getting like these podcast episodes recorded,
Hmm.
but it's hard. It was hard in post product, and so instead of dealing with putting out like trying to figure out how to put out the long, I was like, man, like this live platform will force us to put out the long. So like from there we can just kind of chop from there. So it kind of helps out with a little the. Oh man,
Oh wait, not
they're not letting Jim in right now. Hold up. Let me try to see what I can do. But yeah, what you been up to
let me
this
see.
yo?
Yo,
That
what's
was good,
good?
bro.
What's going on, Jim? What's
What's
going
up,
on?
man?
So,
How you
so
doing?
thank y'all so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate y'all. And dude, I just wanted to say like I love what y'all got going on. I want to learn a lot more about what y'all been doing. So kind
Mhm.
of what is your podcast and like how'd y'all even come up with the idea to start all that?
Yeah, I can answer that. So we got the timer in the podcast. So I'd say the podcast is more so like actually we started during quarantine, right? So it's like I feel like a passion project in a way. Because I know for me, like I've always been really curious about, like different business ideas and like what people are just doing. Like it's always been an interest of mine, and I love to talk. So I think with that, to me it just kind of made sense. And Jim's also like he's very like goal oriented and like loves money and stuff. So we were like let's just try it out. And at first I feel like it was a platform for us to talk about stocks. I'm not gonna lie, like that's kind of how we wanted it to start. But then we realized like there's so many creative people, especially like at our school, um, that like are doing their own thing, and like we want to kind of like highlight that. So like showing off their different like businesses, and us learning in the process. Like that was my view on it. Jim wants to give his 2 cents.
Yeah, it's basically what you said was correct. I was gonna add that we basically wanted to at the beginning also have a voice because we would have like very interesting conversations off camera, and I would like to say that the both of us are pretty knowledgeable people. So
Mm-hmm.
I just felt like there was a need for us to like talk about whatever we would talk about in the dark and then put it out in the light. And then they eventually grew into something bigger where now we're essentially forecasting other people on and we're basically putting their voice, making them have a voice as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I love how you talked about like learning from other people, even like this show, like I just want to kind of learn from y'all. And I feel like a podcast is an amazing place not to only learn from other people but also to learn more about yourself and like
Hmm.
how you think and how you process different things. Tell me this, what's the hardest part about like podcast talking or like podcast interviewing versus like normal conversations? What have y'all noticed in that?
Um. Okay. So for me, like I feel like I say like I'm pretty like carefree with like the words I say and like the way I talk. So like I think one thing big is just like your image, like especially online. So like having want to go in like career force and stuff, like you have to make sure like you're portraying yourself the right way. I think that's like really hard because there's certain things like when you're with your friends, like you're just gonna talk how you talk. Like for me, like even cussing, I cuss a lot, so It's like that type of stuff. But I think even more so is just like making sure that every moment kind of matters. Because when you're doing a podcast, you want to keep the person's attention and also like make sure they're getting something out of it as a viewer. So I
Mhm.
think when you're just talking, there's gonna be times where you're like really silent and there's not much to say. But like during a podcast and like when you're being recorded, you kind of want to make sure like you have that plan and know what you're gonna talk about and kind of stick to it and not waste much time.
Mhm. Yeah, and I I was gonna add on to the our very first season was the toughest one because number one,
Yeah.
we didn't have a set, we didn't have a good setup. Number two, we are just getting used to just talking into a mic by
Yeah.
yourself with a camera
Yeah.
looking at you is one of the most awkward things you can do. So that was very hard to do in the beginning, but eventually you start getting the flow of it. Um, every time we take a break, though, that first episode is always kind of like sketchy, and then we have to get back into it. So it's fun. That's the fun part of it because it makes you uncomfortable. But being comfortable is nice because then that's how you grow from being uncomfortable.
Absolutely, absolutely. The one
Mm-hmm.
thing I learned most ever since talking with pods is like how it is different than a normal conversation in terms of like it's more me going on for an extended period of time in a way, and then
Hmm.
you going on. And it's like there's it just
Mm-hmm.
seems like the flow is very different. How like scripted are you guys' is episodes? Like, do you know what questions you want to ask before? Like, how do you kind of go about that? Because for me, I'm battling with wanting to do a little more structure. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I was a little too less scripted before and I could get off on different tangents. So like how do y'all kind of approach an episode when you have the guest?
So I know for us, like we have like a Google sheet, right? And we like kind of have like an outline of questions, maybe like 5, 6 questions that we kind of want to ask, or like that we just like genuinely want to know about. And so like I guess that's like kind of scripted because we have an idea of what we want to go on. But I also like the beginning of our podcast at least is like normally like we're trying to just have a little fun and crack jokes and stuff. Really, so that part like we try to be a little more spontaneous, I guess. But I think with a podcast you definitely should have like a vision and goal, but I kind of like being spontaneous in a way because like it keeps it fun. Because like you never want to really sound robotic, and I think like
Yeah.
that's like a big problem because once you sound robotic, like you're gonna lose like the attention of your viewer. Like when
Hmm.
it's fun and like things are kind of moving and everything's kind of in motion, like that's when you kind of like really hit like those topics that like you never really thought you would, and you learn the most. I feel like.
And that's when the conversations are usually the most genuine because you talk about something and then you go off on on a tangent, but the tangent still has to do with the original topic. So you kind of go off a tangent, but in the best way possible, and it makes the conversation a lot more genuine rather than just rather than it being a interview. We want it to be a conversation because when you just
Yeah.
ask questions after questions after questions, it becomes an interview. It's not a conversation.
Yeah. It makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense.
Hmm.
So tell me this. A lot of
Hmm.
people ask, like a lot of people want to, start podcasts. A lot of people want to put out their voice. Can you kind of take us into the behind the scenes of like, how do y'all make your podcast from like, recording to post production? Can you kind of take us through the different process from creative to production to distro?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So normally the way I think first like we want to find people who we like think are really interesting, and like even like for our view like the people we interview or like have conversations with, we always want to make sure like they have something to offer that's a little different, and we try to have like a good mix of guests. So I think one like if you're gonna do like an interview style, like make sure you have interesting people who you generally want to know about, because people can tell if you like really don't like care for them to be there, you know. So I think that's one. Then first, like get your like software. So we record using Anchor. I don't know what you record
Okay.
yours on, but we use Anchor. Um, get we started off with voice memos, and that was like using our voice memo on our phone. And bro, like it, get a mic. Like I would say, get a mic because that joint the echo is crazy. Like there was just a lot going on. So try to get a mic. We got mics for like $50, right? I think off Amazon,
Hmm.
something like that. So it's not too bad. You might have to budget a little bit, but it's all good. Um, and then yeah, we really it takes us like probably 2.5 hours to shoot, but that's just because like our setup, like we have to move things around sometimes. So it's been pretty fun though. Like we get our guests in, we kind of chill with them for like 15, 20 minutes. You want to get the vibe right, play some music, crank a little bit. Um, And then yeah, we just kind of do our one-on-ones where we like kind of play like more game like and joke around, just like again like get the vibe right. And then we normally have our like actual podcast where we speak. That's about 30 minutes. We kind of talk about their businesses or whatever like we find interesting about them. So that's kind of it. Editing, we try to record on like Saturdays. Probably edit like up to like Wednesday, then just kind of like finalizing things to post on Saturday. So I
Yeah.
think that's kind of our process.
That's at least that's the production part of it, and then there's a whole other process where it goes with marketing. And with the marketing,
Mm-hmm.
we have Reels, Instagram Reels, we have TikTok, and we essentially get clips from every single. We try to get clips where we portray or we at least put out parts of the conversation which we think were the most important throughout the whole podcast, and then we put that on Reels, and hopefully that attracts somebody who hasn't seen us, because no matter how good our quality may be, our quality is actually very good, by the way, if you check us out. No matter how good our quality may be, it doesn't mean anything if our marketing is not at that level. So if we can't market
Absolutely.
ourselves, then it's meaningless. So marketing is very important. So that's why we do Reels and TikTok for the most part.
Yeah.
No,
And
that's the most important part. So the way I normally explain it to people, I always say like with long pods like this, there's like treat it like basketball, right? There's three
Mm-hmm.
pointers, there's mid range shots, and there's layups and dunks, right? So like the
Mm-hmm.
3 pointers, that long, 50-minute podcast episode, right? And then
mm,
you could take that 50 minutes, you can get some mid range clips, so like 10,
Mm-hmm.
7 to 10 minute clips
Mm-hmm.
from there, and then the most important thing out of all of them are those reels, those Instagram reels, those
mm,
TikToks, those dunks, where
Mm-hmm.
people can basically consume your whole entire episode without even tapping into the YouTube, and like that's how you kind of bring them to the other spot.
Right.
Um, just a bit. So how do you like using Anchor? We use Riverside FM
mm.
to do most of our studio, but like how do you like Anchor? What does Anchor do?
Anchor's cool. So like, Anchor's kind of like I guess like cloud based in a way. So it kind of saves all your audio recordings and everything like kind of on its own like server. It's super easy to use. Like if you want to put ads in, like you can create your own ads through Anchor. Like, and they upload everything to like Apple, Google Play, Spotify, like everything. So it's like it's pretty easy. All you really do like you make your account, you just hit record, and you just kind of start getting to work. I don't know how it is. You said Riverside, right?
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
it's pretty similar. It's pretty
pretty
similar.
similar.
All right, that's what's up. That's what's up. Well, my last question is, so season
Mhm.
three, Tom Millionaire, like what's going on? What do you guys have in store? What do you guys want to do? Like what's next?
Yeah, that's funny you ask. So we've been planning our first episode like for the last couple hours actually,
Mm-hmm.
or we've been talking through it. So we're about to drop when school picks back up. So we're about to start recording. We're gonna get you on the podcast too for sure. So look out for that. We're probably gonna drop in like August, I guess. We'll probably record all through July, and then yeah, it's gonna be a lot of very interesting people. From models, got you, bro. You made like first. I want to say you're very tough, bro. You have an app like that. That's
Mm-hmm.
very tough.
Thank you, man.
You
Appreciate
like
that.
and also like the crypto investing space. I think is gonna be super important because like I feel like a lot of people our age like are trying to get into that now, like learning how to manage their money and things like that. So I feel like it's gonna be a lot of like really helpful content, but then like also a lot of people who are really creative and have like they view the world very like interesting, very very unique like worldview. So I think it'll be a good time.
Yeah. Our goal
Alrighty.
is just always to be better compared to the last season, and I think we've done it. We've done that for the past 2 seasons. For season 3, I only expect better quality and just better content.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, man. Well, I appreciate y'all. Appreciate y'all for coming on, spitting the game. I'm
For
excited
sure.
to get in the studio with y'all. We'll set up a time to do that. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm just super
Mm-hmm.
excited, man, to just keep pushing. I love the platform that you're building, so just keep
Thank you.
working,
Thank
bro.
you.
Appreciate
I
y'all for real.
All right. Thank you,
appreciate
man.
that.
Have a good one.
Thank y'all so much. Have a
No
good
All
problem.
right,
one.
bro.
Alrighty. So our next guest is going to be Shane Lee. Man, me and Shane went to elementary school together. We played AAU together most of our lives, and then like Shane just happens to be top tier
Yo,
football player. What's going on, bro? How
what's
you
happening?
doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm chilling. I'm chilling. Happy July 4th weekend. What you been up to?
I'm in Houston, bro. In
Oh, for real?
Texas. Yeah.
What are you
A
doing
little
out there?
getaway, hanging out, chilling, just
Okay,
getting away.
that's
So,
cool.
what you, bro? How's New York treating you?
Bro, it's good. It seems like a lot of people left the city this weekend, so New York's been lit lately because there's a bunch of interns in here. So, it's just cool, different people, different vibes, but it's chill. I miss home, bro, for this time. Like July
Yeah,
4th is crab season in Maryland, so
cookouts.
I'm definitely, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, big
For sure.
cookouts.
For sure. So tell me this, bro. You came to New York about a year ago
Exactly a
today,
year
like
ago.
around a year ago
Exactly.
now, right?
Yeah,
Um, you were at a completely different point in your life. Like you were about to enter your junior year at Bama. You you hadn't, you hadn't really, got into the media space, gotten into LA. So like kind
yeah.
of over the last year or so, like what's been the biggest difference in your life from like last year now to right now?
Uh, I guess just experience, to be honest with you. I think a lot has happened since we had our conversations last year. I'd say the biggest thing is really just one thing I've taken in from the past year has just been a lot of execution, like setting your mind out to do something and then following through and taking those initial steps to like start doing things. Because I think that's where before I would get a little lost. Is like, okay, you have this plan in your head, but like, let's go and like make it happen in real life. And so I think for me over the past year, that's been the biggest thing is like creating visions and then executing them and seeing how they unfold and being able to adapt and things like that. So it's crazy though, because I was going to ask you the same question. Like we had great conversations a year ago today. So like from a year ago, how do you sit today? Like what do you look back on and like what sticks out to you and what do you think has propelled you forward from that time last year?
So when you like, and I'll always remember this. You came and you gave me the 5 a.m. club, and you said to me like, I prepare for every day like I prepare for every game, and you're like, I hope that this book helps. And like when you gave me that book, I was like, man, I was overwhelmed. Like 5 a.m. club, that sounds ridiculous. Like that's
Early.
hella early. Especially because I was always waking up at 10, but like literally like incorporating a morning routine into my life has changed everything. Like it gives you time to take care of yourself before everything else. And like that has just made me overall just more productive in every other aspect of my life. Like everything else trickled down from like having a straight routine when you wake up, like kind of clearing out the fuzz from the night before, clearing out your mind, going
Yeah.
to the gym, working out, writing in your journal, like learning, reading, like that, like specific kind of, golden hour, that morning routine has just like, it's been all of the difference. And I definitely think like, I definitely owe you everything for that. And so, I definitely really appreciate you on that
Nah,
because
yeah.
it's been everything, bro, for real,
Yeah, I'm glad
for
to
real.
help, bro. Glad to help.
So how do you feel about routine and like you talked about kind of execution? What do you think goes into execution? Like there's, all of us talk a big game. We all, want to do big things, but like what's the difference?
I think the biggest difference is the people who just start. Like you don't have to have a plan like from start to finish. I think the biggest thing is just starting. Even if you don't know what you're doing, like just getting into space, trying to get your feet wet, trying to like get real life application and like see does this work, does it not work, and just trying stuff out, bro, instead of just thinking about it, actually doing it. I think that's a big thing. I think that's the biggest thing, honestly, as far as execution is concerned, because you can figure out a way, but I mean, if you're thinking about it in your head, there's going to be infinite ways that you could try to combat a problem that you may or may not have, but you're only going to know if you actually go out and do it and like experience real problems and have to adapt off of real problems. So,
Yeah, for sure. Tell me this, like you over the last few years, like you've won a natty, you've transferred schools, you've been on highs, you've been on lows. Like, what do you tell yourself at some of those lower points? Like, how do you get yourself through that? How do you keep moving and stay consistent?
uh, I think a big thing for me now is just knowing that I've had lows before. And so, like, knowing that, like, you've made it through 100% of your worst days, like, it kind of gives me a lot of encouragement sometimes. And, like, you're like, oh man, like, it feels like you kind of hit a block in the road or you kind of don't know where to go. It's like sometimes you got to take a second, give yourself a little bit of time, reset, and then try to attack the problem from another way. I think for me especially, I get so fixated on wanting things to be exactly how I want them to be instead of just taking them how they are and then adapting off of that. Um, Definitely something I gotta get better at, but I kind of know, just knowing myself as well as I do, like some of those things that kind of hinder me at times, and a lot of it is just me in my own head. Like just because it's not how I want it to be, that doesn't mean like it's not how it's supposed to be. You know what I mean? So getting it on my own way a lot of the time is what it takes. So just kind of reminding myself like it's okay for it not to be exactly how you want it to be.
One thing, one thing we talked about recently is short-term memory loss, and you even talked
Yeah,
about that, like on the field, like you gotta just like forget that last play and always move on to the next play and like work on what's next. Don't be all fixated on what happened before.
yeah, you can't
Um,
carry it with you, bro. Not at all.
for sure. So tell me this: how's LA? Like, how's LA treating you? New school, new vibe. Like, talk about the scenery. Like, what's the biggest difference between LA and Alabama? Like, what's opened your eyes out there?
Bro, LA is just a huge place. Honestly, I think all the different people that you meet out there, people that are actors and like musicians and athletes, bro, everybody. So just to kind of get out and see like, Tuscaloosa is a college town, so like, you see the football aspect of it, but now you're in like a major media market. So you see, you know, any and everybody and like hear stories and just go around these places that like you hear about or see on TV or even like Grand Theft Auto, like you put in the game and like you see it in real life. So just kind of get around and seeing like all the different places there are and all the different kinds of people. It's just it's like a big melting pot for like everything. Like it's been a
Yeah.
super cool experience, honestly.
That's why. That's why. So USC's been in the headlines this week. Obviously,
Yeah, bro.
The Big Ten announcement. That's pretty
I
big.
don't know
Is
about
that
that.
what year is that? What year is that, by
I
the way?
think it's 2024. I think.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, how's that going? How's USC football? What's the morale like over there right now?
SC football is great, man. About to start out July, get it rolling in the camp, man. Like last little month to kind of focus on your body, focus on your mind before you got football. So July, then you hit August through January. It's a
Yeah.
wrap. That's the season. So last little stretch, bro, till we get back into football.
Anything
So
in particular that you're working on in terms of football and being better at that?
I say right now just the playbook, making sure I got the playbook done, new system, making sure I'm comfortable in that, making sure I'm well versed in it. So really
Yeah.
just trying to get right there, get the team right. Like that's the thing, bro. Especially when you work with teams, it's like you got, you know, however many people, like you need everybody at their best. So making sure that everybody's getting what they need. Like everybody doesn't need the same thing. So trying to figure out best ways to be the most efficient in whatever we do and hit it hard, bro. Have fun, attack it. It's the only thing to do.
Tell me this, you're in like a leadership position on a new team, like meeting a bunch of new different people. Like, how has it been kind of trying to find yourself within that bigger group and like be able to like, meet people, but also kind of take what you learned in the past and apply it there? How do you like, what's your mentality when it comes to that?
Honestly, I try not to think about it too much. I feel like if I were to, it kind of mess me up a little bit. But I just going to be the person I am, and then whatever form, whatever shape I take, and I let that be that. I just try to be whatever my team needs me to be. Like just be the best at whatever I could be for that. So I don't think it's really me trying to pick out a role. I'm just trying to do whatever they need me to do, play my role, like whatever that is. So it's definitely interesting. It's definitely unique in a situation like this because we have so many new people.
Hmm.
So it's new, but it's fun, bro. Having a lot of fun.
Already. I guess my final question is, can you kind of talk a little bit about the middle linebacker position, the Mike linebacker, like what your role is, what's kind of going through your head on the field, and like what are you out there doing? Like what's your like what are you prioritizing? Like what do you have to deal with as the middle linebacker?
Um, First thing that comes to mind, bro, is probably just communication. Like I think everything boils back down to just communication. Getting the call, calling the call from the sideline, making sure all 11 get the call, making sure everybody's on the same page. We got adjustments. just little key reminders that you might have on some plays or based off what the offense does. So it's a lot. Um, the job comes with a lot, but I think again it just comes back down to communication and making sure that everybody's on the same page and you know doing as best they can to make sure everybody's clear and like everybody knows what they have to do. I think that's the best way to go about it.
That makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. Well, man, I appreciate you coming on and talking about football. You can stay on if you want. We're about to go into real estate with Noble. If you have any questions for him, you can kind of stay in and ask anything if you want.
All right, but what's going on, bro?
Yo,
What's up, yo? Max, what's up, bro? What's up?
what's going on, bro?
I'm good. How are
Thank
you?
you thank you so much for coming on the episode, Shane. Noble, this is Shane. So Noble, bro, you have been doing a lot recently, and so I just kind of want to tap in. I want to talk about real estate and see kind of what your process has been. But like, bro, ever since we first met, like the first day we met, you talked about how you bought your first property, and it was crazy because when I went to go see it when we were living together in Vegas, I mean in Philly, um, during quarantine, like it was empty. There was like we went in there with the with the hammers and we were knocking down walls and we were putting stuff up. Man, like it's been incredible to see kind of what you've been doing. And I kind of wanted to ask you, like, how did you start? What was the start? How did you get into real estate? When did that become a thing that you were interested in? Like how did that all come to be?
I 100% my dad. My dad's a developer, so all throughout my childhood, since I was like about 7 or 8, I'd started doing development projects with him and helping him with stuff. Um, and me and my sister actually, we started like our own project with my pop when we were about like 12, I think. And that was like our first opportunity to kind of like get, the first the demo and the rehab phase of it. And that did a lot for us. Like it just like expanded our perspective on like what you can do with real estate because you can really create your freedom financially. And we saw like my dad do that. So that was obviously like a big goal of mine leaving high school. Um, so yeah, that was just like that was my motivation to get one. He got his first crib when he was I think 19. So
Okay.
I just wanted to get my shit before him. Um, so yeah, I got mine right after high school, and it was obviously as you just saw it dumb. But the thing is with real estate, you're investing in time, and because like property value goes up over time, you don't really for you to make money on it. So I went to school and I met you like what 2 months after I got it, hadn't done much on it, and got offered like 3 times what I paid for it when I came back from school, just because of the time that like had elapsed. Um, so yeah, just like real estate, it just kind of changed my perspective from an early age and kind of like just had me tunnel visioned. So yeah, I'm where I am now, but still nowhere near like where I want to be in terms of this shit. Like obviously it took me 3 years to finish it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's still not even finished. So
So tell me this, what is the biggest, like, so you've went into the whole process of getting your own place. You have your own property now, and it's obviously a renovation that's been taken the last 3 years. What's the biggest misconception about that process, about real estate, about getting your own property, about renovating it or whatever you want to do with it from there? Like, what's the biggest misconception?
Um, one that you just have to go through this direct system of going to talk to, like and obviously it depends on the person. Like if you're not willing to get down and dirty and do the work yourself, then of course, there's a route for that, and that's the route that most people take. Um, but there are options. Like if you want to maximize what real estate can do for you in your life, like there's so many things like from house hacking that people just don't think about. House hacking is like when you say you have like a duplex and you buy a duplex and you live in one unit of the duplex and you rent out the other unit. And that other unit, the income from that would pay for your mortgage. So you'd essentially be living for free. And that's actually what my dad does. But most people don't really think like that. So it's just like really about expanding your comfort zone in terms of like not just your personal space, but like looking for more information because there's real estate is kind of a tool that people use like to create their own freedom, and most people don't use it like that. Most people, real estate becomes their biggest like burden. Most people, their mortgage payment is their biggest stressor in life, and it doesn't have to be that way. So it's just about like changing your perspective.
That makes a lot of sense. It's definitely about the way you think, and I think real estate when it comes to ownership and passive income, there's so many, amazing things about that. I'm really interested in your process from when you got your property to now with all the renovations. Can you kind of take us through, from start to where you are now? Like how, like what have you been doing? What have you been working on? Like what's your mindset around that? What did you have to, like what did the project entail, and what is your plan now in moving forward?
So when I first got it, I had no idea what I was doing with that at all. Like I got it at a public auction and was just one of 50 people in a room bidding on hundreds of properties that were going. And the one that I actually wanted, I didn't get. Like I got outbidded for it. So I bid on this joint sight unseen. Like I didn't know what I was buying when I got it. And I just, had my bid amount and it was like 13,000. That was the max I could go to. Um, and I ended up getting it for like 12.3, or 12.1, something like that. And I only had to put down 10% that day. So it literally cost like an iPhone, $1,200, to get it that day. And at that point, I was just kind of like, I just kind of sat on my hands. And I told you I went to school. So during that like school, like going to school, I did kind of lose focus of the project a little bit. Um, but as I came home on breaks, I would work on it and put in as much sweat equity as I could. My budget was like blown. Like um, I had didn't really do a clear budget or make a like diagram of anything that I should be doing. So I just kind of went in it head first, and like the lessons I learned was just through time I started losing money in it. I was paying for stuff that I didn't use, and stuff would get like rained on, and it was a big like learning experience. And my dad, he helped me a lot through it, because that real estate is what he does. So through the renovation process, like after the demo and stuff, we put up the framing, and he helped me like with a lot of the labor, like using his workers and stuff to get my like materials in. So after the framing and stuff, we put up the sheetrock, and then all that was obviously after the electric and plumbing, and that process spanned to about a year ago,
So
because
the sheetrock is just like the walls.
yeah, just the walls, and that's really what like made it kind of look crisp. But outside of that, like the sheetrock was maybe a 2 or 3 day job. The electric and plumbing was a 2 week job. So it really wasn't a time thing, it was a budget thing. And I didn't like have a budget going into it. So I kept running out of bread. And my sister ended up like coming into the project kind of as I was running out of bread and, just like loaning me some, but eventually just kind of just hopped in the project with me. So it just kind of became like a family a family sort of thing from my not mistake but my initiative that wasn't planned well.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. And so, can you kind of talk a little bit about adding that extra bathroom, or did you add an extra bedroom as well, and like the thought process behind that?
Yeah, so it was originally a 2 bedroom, 1 bathroom, and there was a lot of space in the kitchen that was unused, and so it just made sense to add an extra bedroom to it. And I just ended up moving the kitchen to the front of the house, dicing like what was the kitchen in half and creating a an extra bedroom. So it has 3 bedrooms and 1.5 bathroom now. Um,
Mm-hmm.
uh, Extra half bathroom on the top floor, and that just increased the equity because as there's more bathrooms or rooms in a house, the equity increases.
Okay, okay, that's what's up. And so tell me this: now you're obviously you have your own properties, but you're also moving into actually being a real estate agent. How do you get into how does someone get into real estate? Like how did that how what's that process like?
Honestly, it takes $99 and some initiative, a 75-hour course. Um, but there's plenty of courses online where you can get your real estate license. It's just about, having the initiative to do so. It's kind of just a feather to have in your cap because whenever you go to buy a home, whenever you do go to buy property, you don't have to pay the 3% commission that you would pay to a realtor. You get to pocket that. Um, and you're being a realtor is just about like your network. The bigger your network is and the more people you know, the more business you have. So your family, your friends, just having your license alone, you'll be able to make money even if that's not your main occupation. So it's just
Yeah,
okay.
that makes a lot of sense, and it seems to me like when it comes to real estate, the most important part really is that brand, and it's that network, and it's building that community of people that you can eventually help find them a home. And so one of the reasons why I'm even here in New York in the first place is because of Million Dollar Listing New York. I was always watching Ryan Serhant and all of them, and like content definitely seems like something that has been big. So like how has your journey been as a content creator? We haven't gotten to tap into that a little bit, but how has that been, or do you have anything that you've been wanting to learn, anything that you've been kind of working on lately when it comes to that?
Of course, I have so much to learn in that space. 'Cause I'm just kind of stepping into it, shooting the past couple weeks probably, but I don't know. It just hasn't been my like I've always kind of admired people that can take all their like life content and just put it on social media, but that just never like I never had the idea of like doing that. But as I'm starting a real estate business, it's seeming like that's what I have to do, like it or not. And then as I'm doing it, I'm learning like it's one that I don't know anything as much as I thought I knew about it. So I'm definitely want to hear what you have to share on that. But I'm just finding it's best to to do exactly that. Take my life and just share that. Like not necessarily look for content, but just have like the content that is noble. Just kind of posting that.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think like, when it comes to everything you're doing, documenting is everything. You know what I mean? So like, the different places you be, the different things that you're doing throughout a day, I think, it's really interesting because you're in, nice houses, you're in nice apartments, what I mean, you're in a bunch of different spaces that have good content. I think the only thing that I'm pretty knowledgeable about when it comes to that is what we can do with long form to and how we can get that down. So like if you ever want to do talking content, and so this is how that goes, like
You
with
said
this show, right? So like yeah, talking type content. So it's like what you want to do is you want to find a hub, right? And a hub is a episodic series, if so to say. So this is Game of Power, right? So this is Game of Power episode 2, but there'll also be a Game of Power episode 3, episode 20, episode 50, right?
right.
So you can do these kind of things where if you have a series, you can kind of compound and use that series and try to maximize the most you can get out of that, right? And so from there, it's all about kind of like I said, there's a 3-pointer, there's mid-range shots, and there's dunks. And so if you want to talk, hop on a podcast, right? So me and you are talking, right? So this full episode will be kind of 60, 50 minutes, right? And then what we'll do is we'll chop it down. My bad. My stuff died. But what
Okay.
we'll do is we'll chop that down into like mid-range shots, which is like 5 to 7 minute clips. Our interview is probably about 10 minutes, so like that'll be that. And then from there, you take these micro clips, and those are the vertical videos, those are the reels, and those are the things that we will put a headline on. We'll put captions on as you're talking, and you'll have like 30-second audio. So all of that is a dunk. And so those will score you all the baskets that'll open up kind of everything else. So I think like the only thing I'd say to you when it comes to content is make it easy. You know what I mean? You wanna spend, you know, the lowest amount of time on it, but you wanna maximize what you can do at that time. And so if you just find, you know, episodic stuff, or find batch your content. So if you want to just spend, you know, 1 or 2 hours on a Friday just making videos like that, that's when you should just make all your videos for the next 3 weeks. And so, you know, it's just about being easy. I think one thing that I like about content is it gives me an opportunity to talk to people. It gives me an opportunity to kind of share what I'm thinking about and share what I'm learning about. And I think, you know, the most important part is the process. And so kind of showing off what we're doing in that process is definitely something that hopefully a lot of people would like to learn about as well. So I love what you've been doing, and I definitely think, you know, you're gonna go far with that for sure, bro.
Appreciate it. That's one thing I'm gonna definitely try to like stress on exactly that deep process in that, because a lot of people don't show that. A lot of people show, you know, the result, and it seems so far like out and so just intangible. But the process is where a lot of people stop, and the process is where, like, you know, a lot of people just give up because it's like hard, and you're you're doing more work, but you're staying in the same spot. And it's kind of like a grind, but you know, that's where you gotta be.
Absolutely, no, 100%. So like, yeah, the more you can show, you know, that behind the scenes, it's like, yeah, you would love to post, you know, $675,000 house sold, right? But like
Right.
that's only, you know what I mean? That's the result. And so there's definitely a lot, you know, in the middle of that. And so, you know, bro, I love what, you know, everything that you've been doing. And so I'm happy for you, and I hope that, you know, you keep going. I hope that you find me an apartment in a house one day. And
Appreciate
so, you know, I'm definitely excited to just keep tapping in. So, bro, keep going. Proud of you, and you know, just everything's up from here. Keep
it.
working.
Yeah. Hit me up because I'm gonna be in New York next week.
All right, bet. All right, bet. It was good talking to you, bro. Appreciate you for coming on the show.
Sure. Peace.
Thank you. Alrighty. Um. So yeah, that was a cool episode. I feel like we learned a lot. Hopefully we have pretty good. A lot of y'all, if y'all watch this today, hopefully you have a pretty good idea on how to make a podcast. I really appreciate Shane for coming on and talking about Alabama sports, and moving to USC, and everything he's been doing with that. And then Noble coming on and talking about real estate. I definitely think real estate is something for me as an entrepreneur that I really want to get into in the future. You know, having passive income is everything, and so finding, you know, ways to treat real estate really like every other entrepreneurial business is where it's at. Yo, Eze, come pop in right quick. Come pop in right quick, because I'm wearing your stuff, so we can just shout out the codes. Endless Forever. Shop Endless Forever. Out now. What is it? And what's the, I don't know what the URL is, but this is Eze's brand. Definitely appreciate you for the shirts. And yeah, this is Game of Power episode 2. So we'll just
Brody.
Yo, I just wanted to shout out the shirt. You know what I
Man,
mean?
I see the drip you got on, bro.
Come on. Come
Real
on.
shit.
You know where it's at. You know where it's at. How you
Bro,
doing?
I ain't gonna lie, I missed this whole shit because I just got off work. But you know, I had to pop in for you.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Nah, I just wanted to say what's up while I'm wearing your shirt. Shout it out. Endless Forever.
Endless Forever in the bio, you know what I'm saying? New
You
pieces,
know,
new pieces on the way.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hey, good
All right,
shit though,
man.
boy.
I'm about to wrap this episode up, but it was good talking to you.
All right, Brody.
Thank you, everyone, for watching episode 2 of Game of Power. We'll see you all again next week.